VCY America presents Crosstalk, a nationwide call-in program discussing issues that have an effect on our families, our communities, our churches, our nation, and our world. Crosstalk, an opportunity for you to voice your concerns for biblical principles. And now live by satellite and around the world on the internet at vcyamerica.org. Here is today's Crosstalk.
We do thank you for joining us on Crosstalk here on VCY America. Going to be an interesting program today, and just learned that coming into the studio that the House has just passed the bill to end the government shutdown. Very interesting indeed. Well, today is another in our What in the World segments. And, you know, I would often hear this growing up when something rather bizarre occurred, and the response was, "What in the world?" And friends, as we take a look at what is happening in our society today, it's often a head-scratcher. You hear a story unfold, and it begs the response, "What in the world?" And today we have several of these what in the world stories that are based upon current events taking place. And I'm going to begin with some of the matters unfolding in Minneapolis and things that are going on there. You see, it was just a few weeks ago, as all this was breaking out, that the Minneapolis mayor, WND.com has the story, Jacob Frey, said that this violent confrontation taking place against federal ICE agents in the city are not just about resistance, but it's actually about love. Love, folks. Appearing on the This Week program with Jonathan Karl in January, Frey said, "I think it's important to tell the whole country that this is not just about resistance here in Minneapolis, it's about love." And I asked the question, what in the world? And friends, somebody had actually taken the mayor's comments, and as he is on the upper part of the screen, showing the riot and the mayhem in the lower part of the screen, you'll hear some of that taking place.
This is not just about resistance here in Minneapolis. It's about love. We are showing something far more powerful and consequential here, which is love. We are standing up for one another. You've got neighbors helping neighbors. You've got people uniting and coming together in this beautiful way.
Yeah, it's all about love. Mayor Jacob Frey, and I asked the question, what in the world? And another, associated with this, we played the clips here just not long ago on Crosstalk about the city's church that had been invaded. And it seemed very obvious to me that the former CNN host, Don Lemon, had advanced knowledge of what was taking place and had to, don't spill the beans here. We're on live right now as to what's going to unfold. But he walked free this past Friday after a judge ordered his release, no bond required. Here we have going into the church, disrupting the service, taking issue with the pastor, taking issue with the different worshipers at the church as well. And just walks free with no bond whatsoever, free travel restrictions. I understand he plans to go to France and all kinds of things. I just asked the question, what in the world? Especially as we saw just recently that he was on it looks like a podcast with former host, CNN host Cuomo. And he, on that, mentioned that Jesus Christ was not perfect. Listen to what he said.
But here's the thing. Jesus Christ, if that's who you believe in, Jesus Christ, admittedly was not perfect when he was here on this earth.
Admittedly was not perfect? Admittedly was not perfect? Jesus Christ indeed is the unblemished Lamb of God who takes away the sins of the world, reported one pastor. Jesus was perfect. He had no sin. He who knew no sin took sin upon himself, took our sin upon himself. Don Lemon, who claims to be a Christian, saying Jesus Christ not perfect? And to that I ask the question, what in the world? WND.com is also reporting what's being called a clear escalation. Leaked signal chats suggest that American ICE agents may be targeted for assassination, with bullseyes appearing on images as target stores are accused of cooperating with federal immigration officials. Stephen Crowder posted images of what he called a breaking signal leak on X, stating, Minneapolis ICE agents are being targeted with bullseyes and apparent assassination threats following Target's cooperation with federal immigration officers. Matter of fact, Target stores, and this one in particular in Minneapolis, was targeted as a massive number of people just went and disrupted the business, sitting on the sales floors and taking over with their singing. Yeah, there came on, we the people stand together. This is in the midst of a Target store, right in the midst of a Target store, and singing their chants along that line. And as a matter of fact, the protesters were told to leave and so forth, and this happened outside the Target store. And let me get to another clip here from them here in just a moment. But Target indeed was targeted, and there was a statement that had been made. We'll see if we can quickly locate that here by an individual standing outside the Target store as the protesters were there as well. I think we've got it lined up here at this point. Here is that clip.
Happening? Can you tell?
We've been told as we've been coming to Target stores chatting with managers that this is open to the public, so that they actually can't take people out of the store because it's open to the public. So we really wanted to come today and use it as public space. That's what they told us it was. But when we came in and tried to sit down and hang out and use it as public space, as they told us that wasn't allowed. They said we have to be shopping. Well, first they told us we have to be standing. So we stood, and then they told us we have to be shopping. And so we said, doesn't seem like ICE comes in here and shops. Do you kick them out when they're not shopping at Target? How interesting. But it does seem like they want to kick community out of Target. So that's what we're here to do today, to call out that hypocrisy that Target actually can kick people out of their store, and they should be kicking ICE out of their store every day.
Thank you.
Yeah, this outside of Minneapolis Target, and it was very interesting. They said it was a public place, and so we went in to go use it as a public place. Sit down, everything. You heard. I mean, the dozens of them sitting on the floor and singing, interrupting their business, and complaining that they're getting kicked out of the store. I asked the question, what in the world? And friends, there is also shocking video coming forth. Pamela Geller had this story from Portland, Oregon, that shows staff at the Portland Montessori School leading very young children, some as young as 5 or 6 years old, in an anti-ICE protest, triggering widespread calls for the revocation of any licenses that the school holds. Critics say the footage raises serious questions about professional boundaries, parental consent, and the politicization of early childhood education. Educators are entrusted with teaching basic skills and safeguarding children, not using classrooms as staging grounds for ideological activism or involving minors in political demonstrations that are incapable of understanding. And friends, this audio clip comes from afar, from observing this Portland kindergarten room, the class outside, and the chants are going, "What do we want? No ICE. When do we want it? Now." You'll have to listen very carefully. What do you want? No ICE. When do we want it? Now. Well, friends, that's kindergartens, okay? Students, Portland Montessori School, reports the Geller Report. And we're going to go back to WND.com because this is happening around the country. Chloe Day School, it's a progressive public preschool in New York City, staged an anti-ICE protest and held anti-Trump signs in the classroom, saying it was, too cold to go outside, so we're going to have their protest indoors. The Chloe Day School and Wellness Center is a public preschool and wellness space that takes a progressive approach to learning, child development, and family empowerment, Chloe Day School says. We're a progressive, trauma-informed early childhood program and summer arts camp. the school that believes in diversity and inclusion. Their school boasts on their website. Libs of TikTok posted a video of children at Chloe Day School protesting ICE and expressing anger over the immigration operations. Friends, these are preschoolers being indoctrinated. And you're going to hear the teacher even coaching the students. Listen in from Chloe Day School.
Good afternoon. My name is Dr. Canton. I am the director here at the Chloe Day School here in Harlem, New York. As today is a national day of protest for all the violent things that we're seeing happening across our city, here at the Chloe Day School, we learn about service and acts of service from Martin Luther King. And so to end our month of service, it's too cold outside for us to go outside and protest. Our teachers cannot walk off the job and leave our children unsupervised. So today, we decided in solidarity, we will support all those who are out protesting against the violence that we see and the harm that we see happening to our friends. So some of our friends are going to share how they feel about what's happening and what they want to see happen in our government to change the harm that we see. So Sahad, how do you feel about what's happening?
I feel all of it.
Right, and how do you feel? What did you tell us earlier?
I feel angry.
Because you don't like to see what?
I don't like to see people are hurt or taken away from their family.
Right, and so Isabel and Amadi, what do we want to say? Stop the
Hating.
Right. Okay, and my last three, Faith, Mariama, and Raya, what do we want to tell people?
Enough. Stop hurting people.
And what do we want to say as a school?
Enough is enough.
Stop hurting people. Ms. Shadira, would you like to share your thoughts?
My thoughts are united, we're powerful, our words are strong, kindness is free. Let's do the right thing.
Miss Amy, would you like to share?
Just stop hating and be kind to one another.
Here at the Chloe Day School, we teach love, we teach kindness, and when we work together, we are a better world. Thank you. We're fighting with you, even though we're inside. Have a great evening. God bless.
Yeah.
Oh, my. Chloe Day School. And again, this is dealing with young children, preschool children. And friends, they didn't learn these words by themselves. They took instructors to brainwash these kids and yelling out, stop the hating. Very much indeed, we see the demise of what's going on within the public education system. And Alex Newman points out as well in an article today that January 30th, at least thousands of brainwashed American K-12 kids, often encouraged by educators, walked out of the classrooms nationwide. It was billed by organizers as a coordinated protest against ICE, but really is a much more sinister, what organizers described as a national shutdown, urging no work, no school, no shopping, saw middle school, high school, and college students abandon their studies in large numbers. And friends, I just asked the question, what in the world? What are we teaching in our schools? What is the purpose of education? Political ideology? What in the world? We'll be back in just a minute.
Back to Genesis with Dr. John Morris, scientist with the Institute for Creation Research. Dr. Morris, how are stars formed?
Chris, evolutionists say that each star condensed out of interstellar clouds of gas. But think about it. How could this happen? Remember, space is a vacuum, and gas in a vacuum would be sucked out in all directions. How could this gas become so dense that it would collapse by its own gravity? The pressures pushing it out would far exceed the gravitational pressures inward. There have been a number of evolutionary suggestions to get the process started, but all of them start with stars in the beginning. They say that a nearby exploding star might send out a pulse of energy that would condense a cloud of gas, but the question is, where did the stars come from in the first place? Not how do stars in rare circumstances form other stars. The Bible says that God created stars on day 4 of creation week, and the evidence fits that back to Genesis truth.
This is Chris O'Brien. Thanks for going back to Genesis.
You're listening to Crosstalk on VCY America, another in our What in the World series taking place on the program today as you just kind of shake your head a little bit, wondering, are we really thinking people? And we understand what is taking place, and we just shared even within the elementary schools, the preschools, the brainwashing that is taking place there, coaching kids and what to say to hate ICE. You know, these members of ICE are moms and dads themselves and are concerned about the future of their children, concerned about the future of our country. As we have often had guests like Usama Dakdak and Shahram Hadian with us on Crosstalk warning us about the Islamic agenda. There was just recently an Islamic scholar in California, Othman Farouk, who had a message to Americans, basically saying that no one can stop Islam in America. This is not your country. This is our country. Isn't that what we've been warned about, friends? Isn't that what we have been told about? And we have community after community, elected official after elected official, just kind of sweeping that under the rug. We've seen all kinds of mayhem that have been unleashed and just said, well, that person had mental difficulties. Here we have the Islamic scholar speaking just recently.
Wants to put a Muslim ban. He wants to ban Muslims. We will tell him, this isn't your country to ban. This is the land of Allah, as every land is the land of Allah. And there are Muslims here, that are going to be here. And if you don't like it, I would suggest he go somewhere else.
He went on to say, I don't know where he's going to go, though. He talked about all the different countries of the world, and there are Muslims everywhere following Islam. And then finally he said that he could go to a place that burns forever and ever. But friends, he said, no one can, you can't stop Islam. This is not your country. This is our country. This is the land of Allah. And I say, what in the world? And why do we allow this internal insurrection to take place across these United States of America? This is not a religion. This is a conquest that is seeking to happen, and it's happening. Friends, just look at what's going on in Europe. Look what's happening in many, many countries right now. And we observe this, like in a laboratory, and it should be a wake-up call for us. See the results. See what is happening. See the multiplicity of rapes that is taking place. Young girls that are being raped and sexually assaulted. And we say, well, that has nothing to do. Well, friends, that's why Usama has said, read the Quran. You're going to find out that it is a book filled with violence. And why we can't get that straight here in the United States of America causes me to ask the question, what in the world? This also coming from the Daily Caller, Democratic Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson admitted Wednesday last week that he was in regular communication with other mayors leading so-called sanctuary cities in efforts to impede enforcement of federal immigration laws. Now, just grasp that sentence. To impede enforcement of federal immigration laws. Isn't that the job of a mayor and a governor and the president to uphold the laws of the land? But rather, they are seeking to impede enforcement. Johnson said during a news conference at the National Press Club that he's been talking with Democratic mayors Jacob Frey of Minneapolis, Michelle Wu of Boston, about how to combat United States immigration and customs enforcement. To respond to the operations in Chicago, I leaned heavily on other cities' responses, like Los Angeles. Mayor Karen Bass shared her experience governing while the city was in Trump's crosshairs, Johnson said. We've been in regular communication both at the executive level and at the staff level with the cities like Minneapolis and Portland, Oakland, Boston, and Denver and Baltimore to learn from each other's experience and develop strategies to protect our constituents. Now think about that, friends. To protect our constituents. Isn't that what the ICE officers are doing? Isn't that what Border Patrol is doing, is protecting the citizens of the United States of America. Every day I'm receiving letters, rather email releases, press releases from the Department of Homeland Security. I get a shot of the photo of a person they've apprehended. I get a list of their crimes, pulling them off the streets, detaining them. That's what's for the best interest of the constituents across this land. And here we have Democratic mayors that are conspiring with one another, coordinating with one another to thwart the enforcement of our federal immigration law. And again, I ask the question, what in the world? RedState.com released the story February 1st. Amazing how this keeps happening in New York. Another judge has let another illegal alien slip out the back door to avoid ICE agents. It didn't work, though, because ICE chased down the alien only blocks away. Authorities say there was a federal arrest warrant that would have been in Judge Sheridan Jack Brown's file on the case. Did the judge overlook it? Did the judge ignore it? This is an alleged crack-smoking sexual predator migrant wanted by ICE, allowed to flee through the back door of a Manhattan courthouse, infuriating federal agents. Geraldo Miguel Mora, arrested Thursday for shoplifting, possession of stolen property. Country of origin not disclosed. Collared, that is, in the Upper West Side on January 7th for possession of alleged crack cocaine, according to a criminal complaint. That case is pending in court. In 2011, was busted for attempted rape and strangulation, was presumably deported after that, was off the radar for 12 years, but in 2023, back in the United States and arrested for showing a false ID. Federal authorities had been looking for Mara for a criminal arrest warrant. Everything was sent over to the courthouse by ICE, a federal law enforcement source said, but instead of handing him over to waiting ICE agents, Mora was allowed to simply slip out the back door of Manhattan Criminal Court, law enforcement sources said. They refused to hand him over, the irate Fed said. They let him out the back to avoid ICE. What in the world? Why is it that so many protests are happening to protect individuals like this, to have them out into the market square of today? Let me change the subject here, because this also seems to be rather concerning. From WND.com, February 3rd, the story says the World Health Organization in December quietly coordinated a large-scale pandemic simulation. Involved 31 countries in areas that was framed by World Health Organization itself as, quote, getting ready for the next pandemic, reports White House correspondent Natalie Winters. That phrase was not commentary. It was the official title and purpose of the exercise, said Winters. The WHO publicized the exercise on Facebook saying, quote, getting ready for the next pandemic. 31 countries and areas from across the Western Pacific participated in IHR exercise, that stands for International Health Regulations, IHR exercise Crystal, to test their readiness for future health emergencies. Simulations offer a much-needed opportunity to evaluate, refine, and iron out coordination challenges and practice teamwork before a real crisis hits. Winter said the event took place over several weeks in December and simulated the emergence of a novel respiratory illness with the potential for international spread. Participating governments were not asked to discuss theory. They were asked to respond in real time to alerts, verify information, conduct risk assessments, and coordinate actions across the agencies. In other words, don't think about what's going on. Don't discuss theory regarding this, but you respond in real time to these alerts. You verify the information. You have a risk assessment. You coordinate actions of other agencies as well. The framing is notable, said Winters. WHO did not describe the drill as preparation for a hypothetical scenario. It repeatedly referred to the readiness for the next pandemic. And friends, when you couple that, even with what just happened just recently in Las Vegas, and multiple media in the area primarily reporting on this, this is coming to us from the ABC7 station out of Vegas area. An investigation is underway in Las Vegas after a possible biological lab was found inside a house. Video released by the Las Vegas Metro Police shows a massive response by hazmat, SWAT teams, and the FBI early Sunday morning. SWAT teams conducted raids at 2 homes. They focused their investigation on just one house. Inside, agents discovered refrigerators and vials containing unknown liquids. The sheriff says this is an extremely complex situation that requires a tremendous amount of resources. A code enforcement officer became suspicious when they saw a garden hose sticking out from a building. Inside, investigators found refrigerators filled with chemicals, medical waste, and nearly 1,000 dead and living mice. What in the world? What is being planned? Why are they, how do they come across this home, and how many others are out there just like this one? And then we have the WHO, preparing for the next pandemic. Is there a correlation? I want to share another story that came from lifenews.com. The headline just caught my attention. I asked that question when I read the headline, what in the world? California pediatrician leases a facility to Planned Parenthood to kill babies. A local pediatrician has come under fire from pro-life activists for leasing property to Planned Parenthood for a proposed new health center in Fontana, which the group claims will serve as a major abortion facility. The pro-life organization, The Survivors, highlighted Dr. Renee Salhab's, owner of Children's Choice Pediatrics, with offices in Rancho Cucamonga and Upland, as the leaseholder for the property at the northeast corner of Sierra and San Bernardino Avenues. Their group accuses Salhab of hypocrisy, asserting that while his practice cares for children, he is enabling the killing of unborn babies. The Survivor stated in an email to lifenews.com, while Children's Choice Pediatrics is caring for children, Renee is helping Planned Parenthood kill his future clients. And again, I ask the question, what in the world? A pediatrician, would this be a pediatrician that you would want to send your children to go and receive services from? Leasing facilities to Planned Parenthood? Planned Parenthood, the largest killer of babies? Unborn babies, preborn babies in the womb? It really does beg the question, what in the world? Friends, the stories are many here, and we're honing in close on a break today. But we just see the foolishness of man abounding in this world today. It is abounding. The Bible tells us that when they knew God, they glorified him not as God, but became vain in their imaginations, and their foolish heart was darkened. And friends, that's what we are seeing throughout our society today. The foolish hearts of men and women that are darkened by sin, that needs to have the light of the gospel shine very brightly upon them. But we see that these stories will only continue. They will only continue as man continues to do that which is right in his own eyes. Yes, indeed, we have history repeating itself, as it was in the days of Noah. And friends, it causes us to ask that question, what in the world?
If you're the wife of someone who is in ministry, you have the most exciting, challenging, frustrating, fulfilling, joyful, terrifying, blessed, stressful, rewarding, and amazing job in the world. And some days, it's all of those things at once. On such days, you need a friend who knows and understands how you feel. Claudia Barba is such a person. In her book, The Monday Morning Club, Claudia draws from her own experiences as she writes with love and gentle humor about the joys and absurdities of ministry life. As you read her book, you will learn that you are not alone. She has been right alongside her husband, Dave Barba, planning churches and itinerant evangelism ministry. The Monday Morning Club, Available for a donation of $15 by calling VCY 1-800-729-9829.
You're listening to Crosstalk on VCY America with a What in the World segment today for our topic. And friends, there are just so many numerous illustrations. We're talking about what's going on in Minneapolis and really in places all over the country. We're seeing this unfold. The classrooms, the preschools, the kindergartens have become indoctrination grounds, already taking children's minds to turn them against, the rule of law. And I saw this happen, and it was just so bizarre. Again, I had to ask myself, what in the world? You see, in the Olympics, which are coming up soon, they have something called a ice house. It's a place where they will go. It's a space for Olympic figure skaters and speed skaters, ice hockey players, their families. They will gather there. They'll have meet and greet sessions. They'll have sometimes medal celebrations there, watch parties. There's other events that happen there, Reuters reports. But as Fox News has the story, U.S. Olympic officials have changed the name of the American Athletes Hospitality Space from Ice House to Winter House. That's regarding the protest in Italy about U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement being involved in security measures at the Games and growing outrage about operations in the United States. Friends, again, this has been a meet and greet place. They've called it the Ice House for how long? I mean, this venue is set to be featured during NBC's coverage of the Winter Games. Yes, it's true. ICE agents are going to play a security role for the United States at the Winter Games. But as the Department of Homeland Security says, ICE does not conduct immigration enforcement operations in foreign countries. Think about that, friends. The Milan mayor said ICE would not be welcomed in the city, and he cited images of masked agents in Minneapolis. You know, they're ready to show the masked agents, but not I've been watching video after video of those who are masked, stopping vehicles, finding out where they are from, running license plates. But we have to change the name of the Ice House, this meet and greet location, a hospitality area, because of immigration and customs enforcement? I mean, are we going to rename ice cream cones to just be frozen cream cones? Or no longer can we have ice hockey? It's got to be renamed, frozen water hockey? I mean, it's ridiculous. And that's why I asked the question, what in the world? Not only that, but friends, Western Journal reported here just recently through a commentary about witches that are uniting to cast spells on President Trump and on the Immigration and Customs Enforcement, posting them on social media so others can mimic their witchcraft. The demonic left is conjuring up every possible effort to impede the work of the president and Immigration and Customs Enforcement, including witchcraft. Cassandra McDonald, a writer for the Gateway Pundit, posted a video of one of those witches to the social media platform X. Said, we did get a couple of manifestations that look good. Parts of government are responding to Trump and trying to abolish Trump. After adding that witches wanted former President Barack Obama and former First Lady Michelle Obama to make statements, they did it. And the woman said, that makes me a little more confident that the spells are working. What in the world? No wonder Jesus said to those who are mocking him, ye are of your father the devil. Troubling story as well, this one back to the topic of Islam. Palestinian Media Watch has been warning for years that the Palestinian Authority's rewarding of terrorist prisoners and the families of injured and so-called martyrs with high mortality monthly salaries incentivizes terror. But even Palestinian Media Watch could not imagine that Palestinian parents would intentionally bring their children to areas of conflict so that they would be injured and expose them to possibly a worse fate only to get their monthly Palestinian Authority salary. Now on PATV comes a shocking admission. Palestinian parents would intentionally bring their kids to the front lines of violence so that they would be injured and thus the family would get their monthly payments. The senior Syrian journalist and researcher who exposed this went so far as to explain that the practice of sacrificing children to the point of injury and endangering their lives was due to hardship, saying as a result of the existing neediness, of course, not all Palestinians have economic independence. They do not have full employment opportunities. As horrific as it is that Palestinians did this to their children, it's equally unimaginable that a researcher at a British think tank, the Progress Center for Policies in London, revealed that parents were endangering their children for financial profit. What in the world? Western Journal, another story here. An 11-year-old Pennsylvania boy has been charged with homicide in the death of his father. According to court records, Pennsylvania state troopers said that they heard Clayton Dietz tell his mother, Julia, "I killed Daddy," according to WGAL-TV. Douglas Dietz, who was 42 years old, found shot to death in his family's home on, this would have been mid-January. Police said he was shot in the head. Court documents said that the couple went to bed after celebrating Clayton's birthday, which they had been marred for the child by being told that he had to go to bed and have his Nintendo Switch taken away. According to the court documents, the couple went to bed shortly after midnight after singing "Happy Birthday" to Clayton. When his dad told him he needed to go to bed, he got mad at him, court documents said. Told that he fired the gun and killed his father. He took his Nintendo away from him, 11 years old. What in the world? LifeSiteNews.com, those of you in the state of Oregon, hunting, raising livestock, and even killing mice in an attic would become illegal under an extreme initiative being pushed in Oregon. Leftist animal rights activists are pushing yet again to make animals and humans equal in law. The initiative IP28 would make it illegal for anyone in the state to raise cattle, hunt deer, or even breed dogs. They have tried in the past to push through the extreme ballot initiative. The Yes on IP28 team, many of whom use gender-confused pronouns, say that they're fighting for animal liberation. The initiative, which is still gathering signatures, would be an important step toward a more compassionate state for non-human animals. Avery, who uses she-they pronouns, explains on the group's website. Non-human animals. David explains how he hopes the initiative reimagines human-animal relations. Furthermore, the law bans pest control. Restaurants, bars, even locations that sell food would become dirtier and unsanitary as it would be illegal to kill pests. The proposal failed twice since 2021. But friends, here's another try. And had not received attention or support from any major national animal rights organization, according to the Oregon Hunters Association. However, People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals then gave $10,000 to support the petition, signaling broader support for so-called animal rights movement, reports LifeSiteNews.com. Really? Oregon initiative to ban hunting, raising livestock, even killing pests in the name of animal liberation? Yeah, you know the question, don't you? What in the world? The Daily Caller reporting, Washington state prison officials privately acknowledge that trans men could have more sinister motives for wanting to be housed with females. You think? You know, the light bulb all of a sudden turn on? A group of gender-affirming mental health specialists discussed how to prevent inmates from requesting sex changes for secondary gain rather than gender dysphoria during an internal monthly meeting. The topic was on secondary gain and how certain individuals want gender-affirming services, but is not due to gender dysphoria. Access to women and women's spaces is a primary incentive, including sexual access and targeting emotionally vulnerable women. Beth Parlato, Senior Legal Counsel of Independent Women's Law Center, told the Daily Caller News Foundation. Yes, indeed, the blue state privately admitting that men lie about being trans in order to live in the women's prison. What in the world? Townhall.com. Going to the state of Georgia, Georgia State Senator Greg Dolezal has brought forward new information that exposes massive, seemingly fraudulent voter registrations in the deep blue Fulton County. Georgia state law requires that voters register using their primary residence rather than a P.O. box or any other type of address. In Dolezal's newly released video, he revealed numerous allegedly fraudulent registration locations across Fulton County, according to the January voter rolls. He discovered that 70 people were registered at a single UPS store, 19 people registered at an abandoned home, 138 people were registered at a location run by virtual mailbox business, Physical Address. 1,900 people registered at a homeless shelter outside of the Georgia state capitol. 70 people registered at a homeless shelter that closed nearly a decade ago. And 96 people were registered at a second UPS store. Dolezal also, and if folks, we're talking one county. Dolezal also revealed that thousands of people were registered to vote with a birth year of 1800 or 1900. Jason Frazier, who did much of the background research for Dolezal, claims that these birth years are used when an individual does not know their date of birth and therefore cannot be verified as a legal resident. Frazier also stated that the voter rolls contain hundreds of duplicate registrations or multiple variations of the same name of a registered voter at a single address. You wonder why a raid was done in Fulton County, Georgia? What in the world? We're also finding the fraud is continuing as well in California. Very interesting indeed, taking place. This coming to us from the Geller Report. California facing mounting calls for a sweeping audit after massive fraud was exposed. A staggering 18% of all U.S. home health activity comes from just one place, Los Angeles County. That single county now has more hospice agencies than 36 states combined. This is from Fox News, where they had on Steve Forbes.
Canceled the registrations for Omar's husband's investment firm, Rose Lake, for not paying its back taxes. We saw it owed more than $400,000 to Delaware and nearly $1,800 to D.C. She's claiming it's worth $25 million from less than $1,000 a year before. How can his investment firm not afford to pay taxes? It's supposedly worth an estimated $75 million to $150 million. This is really weird stuff.
Well, weird is not the word for it. There's another word for it called crooked, and that's why we have to have an investigation into this. As you know, the Biden administration started examining her finances and that of her husband, and so surprise, surprise, that investigation went nowhere. But it's amazing how people can go into Congress and then become these entrepreneurial investing geniuses where they come in. She had under $1,000 of net worth and her husband didn't have much, and suddenly now they're multimillionaires.
Yeah, that's another from What in the World. And here is now the clip from the hospice care fraud.
Doctor billed the government $120 million in a single year, claiming to oversee 1,900 patients. With almost 2,000 hospice agencies, L.A. County has more than 36 states combined and 30 times more than either Florida or New York.
18% of the whole country's home health care billing is coming out of Los Angeles County. How is that possible?
And take a look at this map, a cluster of 287 hospice providers in a 2-mile radius, some in strip malls, unmarked buildings, even a wrecking yard and vacant lot.
All of it is just paperwork. I could fill that out in Kazakhstan if I want and get a hospice license waiting for me.
All of those hospice licenses given. Almost 20% of all U.S. home health activity comes from just one place, Los Angeles. What in the world? Something's going on there, friends. Let's open our phone lines. Our telephone number to Crosstalk today is 800-733-9829. Your thoughts on these issues, 800-733-9829. We'll be right back.
For the Worldview Report, I'm Brennan House. Our website's worldviewtube.com. The other night, I interviewed for an hour and 40 minutes Mark Mitchell, the lead pollster of Rasmussen. And folks, what we discussed was very amazing. He's been doing a lot of polling, showing what today's young people think. Now, you may not agree with it, but reality is this is what they're believing. They're believing the system that we have in America today is rigged. Many of them, the inability to get a job. They were told to go get a college degree. They get out with debt. There's no job. We're bringing foreigners in America like crazy with their visas to take their jobs. We've shipped a lot of jobs overseas. Then there's the debasement of the U.S. currency. They can barely afford cars, much less a house. The system, though, is not the free market system. Many of them believe that's what's failed, the free market. It's not. It's communitarianism, big government, big business. Many of them are so frustrated with the lack of solutions by Trump. Sadly, many of them are now ready to throw in with the socialists. Be aware.
You're listening to Crosstalk here on VCY America. Just before the program, Sandy handed to me a story that came out of the Daily Caller about a swarm of earthquakes rattling San Francisco Bay Area early Monday morning, and over 30 earthquakes. Strongest at 4.2. Just interesting to see what's happening in these days where we have turned our back on God. Our number to Crosstalk, 800-733-9829. Let's go to the lines here. Barry in Tennessee, you're on the air.
Yeah, just a comment that, God put the church in the world to keep the devil in check. And when the church is out of sync with God, you have what you have going on. So, the church is the problem, and it's the solution. He said, if my people who are called by my name will humble themselves and seek my face and pray, he said, I'll heal their land. And when he's talking about my people, he's not talking to the Muslims, he's not talking to the person down there, but he's talking to the people that call themselves Christians. We have to get back to preaching the uncompromised gospel and stop worrying about offending people from our pulpits and that. And because, time's running out. This thing's about over. Yeah. And a lot of who's going to give account for compromised gospel? The man standing behind the pulpit. And I hope that a lot of them that are hearing this today will change their sermon Sunday.
Yeah. Thank you for the call here, Barry. And indeed, as you said, God put the church in the world. But the problem today is that so much of the world has gotten in the church.
Absolutely.
Thank you for the call. Let's go to Bloomington, Illinois. Greg, you're on the air.
Hi, Jim. Wow, it's just amazing the audacity and the smugness that these teachers have telling their children how they feel. They don't allow them to express themselves. They rehearse it ahead of time
right.
to tell their children how they feel. And, Lord, I just think that we need to be in strong prayer, and at the risk of sounding like I'm profiling, we need to be in strong prayer for liberal women who claim to be Christian, and it seems to be white liberal women who claim to be Christian, that they can be woken up or something without being woke. But just that group of people just seem to need prayer. I'm not sure if it's because they need some sort of leadership or exactly what, but
and
Greg, need to be in strong prayer for them.
Greg, at the same time, we need men to step up to the plate and be men as well. And
you're exactly right.
Yep.
Exactly right. Yes,
Great.
sir.
Thank you for the call.
You have a good day.
You too. Tammy is next, New Berlin. You're on the air.
Yes, a short scripture and a short comment. Romans 13:1 and 2. Let every person be in subjection to the governing authorities, for there is no authority except from God, and those which exist are established by God. Therefore he who resists authority has opposed the ordinance of God, and they who have opposed will receive condemnation upon themselves. What in the world are we as a nation coming to when little children aren't being taught from little on to respect authority, specifically in the area of first with their parents, then with school teachers, with leaders at church, and with police officers? That's my comment. Thank you.
Thank you, Tammy. Ken in Holman, you're on the air.
America. I said, we need Jesus
Hello,
as king. And her mom took it. So I thought that was pretty good.
Thank you, Ken.
A breath of fresh air, Jim.
Thank you so much. Alice in Arkansas, you're on the air.
Thank you so much for taking my call. First of all, I would like to say the powers that be are ordained of God. President Trump had the Islamic people and had a kosher meal in the White House. Therefore, it looks like he endorses that type of religion. I don't know if he understands the serious impact of it. But I do want to say, you had a special man, Jerry Carr, years ago in the Waukesha special meeting that you had. He said if 70% of all that say they're Christians were real Christians, we wouldn't be in this mess May God help the church to see.
Amen.
I fear the lukewarm. Jesus said we must endure unto the end. The same shall be saved. We can't be lukewarm. And a very godly man that I discussed this recently.
Thank you, Alice. Alice, thank you so much. I'm going to have to run on here. Ryan in Ostrander, Minnesota, you're on the air.
Yeah, teaching this.
Keep going, Ryan. Listen to the phone here.
Irrelevant. How come they aren't teaching the Pledge of Allegiance?
Well, I guess we're spending so much time teaching them to hate ICE and to hate those who are enforcing the law. Dale is next in Punta Gorda, Florida. You're on the air, Dale.
Yes, I wanted to say that the church should be looking forward to the rapture. The Lord is not going to save America. America is not sacred. God is waiting for his people to wake up, walk in the Spirit, trim their lamps, and be ready for his coming.
Amen. Thank you for your call, Dale. Mary is calling from Clarksburg, West Virginia. Mary, you're on the air.
Yes, I wanted to advertise 2 books that I've been reading that goes right along with people being not understanding what's going on. They know something's going on. They just don't know how to focus it. The one book is called The Invisible Coup by Peter Schweizer. Excellent book. I'm almost finished with it. And the other one that I've been reading is called New World Order by Terry James and Pete Garcia. I recommend both of these highly, and thank you for taking my call.
Great. Thank you, Mary, for your call here as well. And I know many troubled by the very things that we're hearing today on the broadcast. We're going to get one last call in. Paul, you're our final caller today. You're on the air.
Yes, I was going to have a lead into it, but what's so much within the Word of God, the devil distracts us from what he did. God really say? And yes, he did. And so certainly that's within this nation. We've got so many people that just plain want to distract the attention away from the Word of God. So God bless us.
Thank you very much for your call. Yes, thank you. As a matter of fact, Paul told Timothy in 2 Timothy chapter 3, verse 13, but evil men and seducers shall wax worse and worse, deceiving and being deceived. But what did he tell Timothy? Give up? Throw up your arms and go hide? He said, no, continue. Continue in the things which thou hast heard and hast been assured of, knowing of whom thou hast learned them. He learned them from his mom, his godly grandmother, learned them from the Apostle Paul. And he reminded him that the Scripture by God it's inspired by God. It's profitable for doctrine, for reproof, for correction, for instruction in righteousness. And then he told Timothy, preach the word. And friends, that's what we need in our society today, is a true proclamation of the word of God. Not to have ears tickled, but to proclaim, thus saith the Lord. That's what this world needs. God bless you, friends. Thanks for joining us today on Crosstalk.
You've been listening to Crosstalk via satellite and the internet from VCY America. Views expressed may or may not be those of this station. For a CD of today's program, send a donation of $6 or more to VCY Take Ministry, 3434 West Kilbourne Avenue, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, 53208, or download by RSS or podcast from crosstalkamerica.com. And join us again for Crosstalk.